Blakey and Tucks, they're talking Cardiff City and some other stuff. Blakey and Tucks, Dolly asked the questions on Blakey's Bootroom. Will always be blue.
Good afternoon, welcome to Blakey's Bootroom here on Wales Online. Nathan and Steve in the studio on a very busy transfer deadline day. It's all been happening already this morning, guys.
It's done, isn't it?
It's all done, time to go.
Get down the pub now.
Home for bargain hunt,
see you later.
as we like
Home
to say.
for bargain hunt.
Two deals already this morning. One slightly peculiar, and we'll go into the details of that. Kenneth Zohore.
Yeah, please do, because I'm confused by that.
He's come here via Vincent Tan's other club in Belgium. And Tom Lawrence, a signing that's getting people excited.
Yeah.
Young Welsh kid, people
Welsh guy.
liking that fact, I think. On
Wrexham
loan
born.
from Leicester, ex-Man United kid.
Bit of pace as well.
What do we think about Alex here? Perhaps sums it up quite nicely. He says, only at Cardiff City could the club have one of their better transfer windows when they're under transfer embargo.
Well, we did talk about that. I mean, we did write a bit about that earlier on. We're saying, is it a bit of a blessing in disguise, this embargo, in that they still had a bit of movement, a bit of leeway to do stuff, but they couldn't splash out millions here or millions there, like we were saying just now about the Tony Watt deal. They couldn't do that. So, but they seem to have, as Alex was saying, navigated it quite well.
Could they have extended the Watt deal then?
They could have, I think,
So
but
he's gone on loan
to
to
Blackburn instead,
Okay.
for whatever reason. So
Okay.
they could have. But of course, adding to Lex Immers, who came
Lex
in.
Luthor.
Lex Luthor, who scored on his full debut in a game.
Great
I'm sure we'll talk
60
about.
yarder.
Little tap in.
Just over the halfway line.
Yeah, and
Just the way I like them.
but I think, this Kenneth Zohore, as we say, coming in via Vincent Tan's Belgian club, all a bit unorthodox, but apparently the Football League have ratified it and are fine with it, and he signed it. We were talking earlier about, we're hearing quite contradictory things. I mean, he's only 21 years old, Danish under-21 international, big unit, knows where the goal is in Denmark. You hope.
I will be into
But then again, there was somebody else who knew where the goal was in Denmark, whose name we shall
I will
not
be
mention.
into my Danish spies today.
Yeah.
I will get some news.
Blakey's having a bacon sandwich in honour
a
of
few of my old
of the whole
friends.
thing.
From
Yeah.
the little we know about him, he is highly rated in that part.
He
of the
is,
world.
yeah.
I know Cornelius was along
Like
similar-
deja vu all over
similar
again.
lines.
Dali was.
Yeah, well,
highly
Norway.
rated.
But it's slightly contradictory with old Kenneth in that Kenneth in that he
Hello.
is that like a famous
Hello.
Danish name? I don't know. But we're being told he's slightly one for the future. Seems a bit weird when he's on loan from. Obviously he's at in Belgium now, but obviously he's spoken already to in an interview and said he's here to break into the first team and all that. But then again, he would say that, wouldn't he? He wouldn't say I'm here to kind of play in the under-21s. So he's a bit of an unknown quantity. If he's an unknown quantity, I think Tom Lawrence now is quite a known sort of aspect. I think he's only 22 himself still, but obviously massive things were expected of him at Manchester United. He kind of was one of those guys, looked like he was good. I think he was there from when he was like 9 years old, worked his way through, and as so often happens, never quite managed, particularly at somewhere like Old Trafford, to make the breakthrough. Got the move to Leicester in the Premier League, and had a couple of little other loans out, most recently at Blackburn, and now he's at Cardiff. So, I mean, the one thing we'll say about him is one thing Blakey been saying in particular all season, this lack of pace. Well, I think Lawrence has got a bit of a turn of speed on him, hasn't he? And quick feet and all that. Kind of understanding maybe he might be utilised out wide.
So I can't really say, you know. Do you want to get that?
You carry on.
So I don't want to say.
He'll be home late from work.
So I don't want to. I don't want to say one way or the other. But you know, you got to say it's always a positive when you bring new players in. It's just whether or not they can gel into the squad and make an impact.
Well,
so
there were a couple of other championship sides, I think, and people saying Leeds.
I think Leeds,
maybe,
Leeds were close from. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a lot of positive feedback and responses from Cardiff fans. They like the fact that it's a Welsh kid, and it's something.
Yeah, that's though, isn't it? That's the Welsh.
Exactly. Something we've been crying out for maybe for a while, with the lack of people coming through the academy, etc.
Well, we got about 20 of them, and 20 Welsh kids in the academy. So
Indeed. Yeah, I suppose the only concern would be he has been at Blackburn on loan and hasn't really
lit it up.
Hasn't really done much
No.
there, you know. He's scored, I think it's 2 goals in
20 odd, 25, I
2
think.
goals in 25, this season. So
Well, let's hope listen, if he comes and provides no goals and 15 assists in the next 10 games, I'd say is well worth it. You know what I mean? So let's see where he's put. If he's in an attack position, which I suppose he's going to be down the middle or wide left or number 10, wide right, one of those 4 positions, then part and parcel of the responsibility is get your fair share of goals.
It's remarkable, isn't it? The turnaround, we were talking earlier on, me and Tuck, the turnaround of strikers since Russell Slade.
It has been incredible.
When he walked through the door, I think you were talking Lafondre,
It is incredible. Well, I think Tux and I had a bit of a disagreement at one point where Russell Slade had said that Makeda was the best player at the club.
That's right, yeah, when he first joined.
One of his first interviews I had with him.
Tux was, okay, he is, but he sees him every day in training. We've seen him every day in the Football League and in the Premiership for the last 4 or 5 years. And, if he was, then surely would have seen it up to this point. I think he'd had a good run at Birmingham. So, I'd say he's easy satisfied now, Tux, though, isn't he?
Just as well.
I suppose there's going to be a bit of luck involved in terms of partnerships, because I imagine Lawrence and Lex Immers would probably be the starting partnership, maybe.
Well, you don't know, do
you?
You need to build what if you go back to Russell Slade's beginning, one of the biggest things he made, one of the biggest statements was partnerships. And that is probably the biggest thing that hasn't been able to develop under his tenureship, is partnerships.
Yeah. Look at the midfield, Stuart O'Keefe.
Exactly. You could go all over the pitch. Fabio, who I thought was tremendous on the weekend. There's a dilemma with him. You don't know who's going to play, whether it's him or
Malone or
Bugsy or
Peltier.
Right. It's just the inconsistency
it's a
of
movable
results.
Feast.
The inconsistency of results is probably due to the fact that there isn't been a consistent 11 for a very long time. You've just pointed out a great point. Strikers, the turnover in 12 months is staggering.
Talking of strikers, what's the latest on Ravel and Makeda, 2 people who have slipped down the pecking order with the new signings? What's
Do you understand? I've been hearing that they could go out on loan today with a view to a permanent.
That would be. I would be trying to get them off the.
I think they are. I think they are looking to. I'm not exactly sure which clubs. I know obviously Makeda was linked with Bristol City recently. I don't know if that's.
Because Lafondre, do we still have?
Yeah. He's on loan. Yeah, he's on loan at Wolves. Yeah.
So it's time to get them off these players, to get them off the wage bill. Do you know what I mean? Because if they're on 3 or 4 year contracts, we got to think is if you over the course of 4 or 5 years, their value keeps going down, basically. Yeah. But what it also allows is your wage structure to increase, or the ability to sign players increases, because they've got 2 years left, their value is decreased. If you sell them or whatever, if you can get a couple of mil for them, great. But what it does then, it allows you, 15, 20 grand a week for each person they get rid of who's been on those big wages. So it just allows Cardiff far more breathing space to work in these sorts of deals and hope that a few of them come off. But they do need more permanent fixtures for me, and allow some of these players to bed in. It seems like you get a couple of months and.
It's never great when you've got too many players on loan at the
club. In a sweet shop, isn't it?
But I mean, it's true, isn't it? There's been such a turnover. I mean, Dekashwi or whatever, start the season, he's like, that's it. This is the guy. This is the guy. I mean, next minute, all right, he has a bit of an injury. He's fit again. Can't get back in the side. Okay, maybe that's a good thing in the sense of someone like O'Keefe. I mean, that'd be quite. I mean, O'Keefe was a bit much maligned at the start, wasn't he? You know, it was like, what the hell's he doing here and all that, and then suddenly he comes
Who
in.
said that?
Well, I think I said. I don't think I was the only one. I think a few people said it. And now he's in, and he's playing well. So you know, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I agree with Blakey on that. I think the lack of a settled side has an impact. But you say they're inconsistent. They're not inconsistent at the minute, mate. You know, if they're 3 games, two away wins and a
Bob
home.
says here, the squad has a better look and feel about it now. 7 points from the last 9. And
Yeah.
we were talking just before we started. These were the 3 games that Russell Slade was given to save his.
Fair play to
his
Russell
job,
Slade.
and,
3 games to save his job. And he's
Told you he'd be here next season too.
He's answered his critics, whoever they may be, wherever they may be.
Well, it's incredible from that point where, you know, all the noises from inside the club where that he was on the edge. You know, since then they've got.
I think the Shrewsbury FA Cup game was a bit of a watershed moment. I know it's only the FA Cup, which I hate.
But this was the point I was trying to make to you when we.
No, we're not going to get that angry.
No. When we discussed about
I can't handle it.
The Mehmet Dalman thing. Yeah, that was a personal statement. Now, is that being supported by the club? It's not, is it? Because now the man has got himself into a position where Vincent Tan is probably thinking, no, he is the right man.
You never know. I mean, so in terms of what's happened, never mind the 7 points out of 9. Since that point, they've been placed under transfer embargo. Joe Mason, we'll talk about him now.
Yeah, of course.
He's lost another one of his star strikers. His position has been strengthened by the bad news that has affected the club. It's made his job.
I think the best thing that happened to Slade was the transfer embargo in a way, because he had that kind of default setting of my hands are tied. People saying, well, he can't do anything, he can't buy anymore. What can he do? Oh, woe is me. And he comes out fighting. Can only benefit him.
Totally. What about Joe Mason? Because again, the noise is slightly confusing. The noise is just days before he actually left for $3.5 million, where Joe Mason's not going anywhere. $5 million minimum. You know, they might consider, and off he goes for.
Listen, it just shows to me that Joe is potentially a very good player. You know, he's shown over the course of a season or two, that he has got the capability to play well in the Championship. And even probably go on to, you're not going to be a top 8, top 10 Premier League player, but he could play Premier League.
I think he's a weird player.
So he's an asset that, you know, for whatever reason. Listen, if they think they've got something better coming in,
good business. $3.5 million for Joe Mason there and then.
Not for me personally. I think value-wise, I would put him around that, maybe a bit more. But I still think if one of your closest rivals is trying to buy, why would he buy one of your weaker players? They wouldn't. The boy is clearly amongst footballing circles, well respected, talented, capable of scoring goals. That's why Wolves have purchased him. So,
well, Slade cited the financial fair play regulations, and that was the reason why they had to say yes.
I mean, it was kind of.
They didn't have to say yes.
It doesn't quite tie in with them saying.
No, it doesn't.
That it was a technicality. The reason why
we're told that they wouldn't be under the transfer embargo in the summer anyway. They reckon in any FIFA form. I mean, the noises within the club itself that it's almost some kind of error that they're in it now. They haven't done. They swear that they haven't done much wrong, but. Apparently the Joe Mason deal helps the financial fair play moving forward.
I think regardless of all that, I think if I look at it from the player perspective, I think if Joe goes and he's selected as the number 1 striker, or, you know, they play with 2 up front, one of the 2 up front, and he scores between now and the end of the season 8 goals, I think that's something that I would be saying, well, that's not good business by Cardiff. If he goes there and doesn't do well and doesn't settle in, and over time, and he drops down to a League One club, then you could say, okay, well, they cashed in at the right time. So it's like that. But personally, I think he probably suffered from not being in a settled squad, because if you look at the time where he did have like the 20 goal a season, that team was probably picking itself for almost the entirety of the season. And from a player's point of view, that's what you want. You want to know that your manager has full confidence in you to be saying, right, you're on the team sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know there's competition out there, so it's how you play weekly. And Joe was up and down in his form. But, like I say, circumstances for me probably due to the lack of continuity throughout the 11.
I think they often had a problem with Mason was finding who to pair him with. Do you know what I mean? In a weird way, they never seemed to link him up with anybody. I
think you're searching in the dark for an excuse there.
I don't know. I don't think they ever. As always.
I think you had.
I think who did they pair him up with when it worked? Who was the alongside?
When did he score 20 goals? What season was that?
Oh God, when was that? Did he score that many? Did he?
Before they went up to the Premier League.
Was it
Yeah,
was
he was the saviour that season. Yeah, he was the one who got them in and around the playoffs.
I don't know. I think he's a really unorthodox kind of player.
1 year, 3 million for Mason. Great bit of business. He was too weak, and although he nicked goals, he didn't really look a threat consistently against Championship.
He did. I agree with that. He had long stretches where you'd come to write the rating at the end, and you'd be thinking, "Oh, hang on a minute, what did he? All right, he ran and he."
But when you know he can score goals at this level, and he's a young lad, it can only be psychological. Form. Yeah? Form becomes a psychological battle. And that's usually, your relationship with your manager, your teammates, and how you're respected and how you go on and
he scored 5 goals in his first 10 matches this season.
And then dropped off.
He scored 1 in the next 14 or 15.
Well, I mean, you have to say Russell Slade didn't want to lose him, so.
I think he paired up very well with Kenwyne Jones. If Tux wants someone to say.
Kenwyne seems an age ago now.
Yeah,
but I think he. If you look at, like I've always said, he wasn't a pacey type of player, but he's very quick thinking. And I always thought, playing with Kenwyne, he will get on the end of some chances that you flick on, but he was more of a type that you would say. And you would work around Kenwyne holding up the ball and Joe coming around the front in that kind of number 10 role. And I think when he's playing up with a big man, it's easy for the concentration of the defenders to solely focus on the big man. I played with Jostein Flo at Sheffield United. Oh man, it was a dream because, big Razor Ruddock and people like that wanting to beat him up all the time. I mean, you're just out the way thinking, oh, great, I'll just run on and make a goal. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. But I think in the right partnership, I think, him and Kenwyne could have been, if you settle them down pre-season, into the start of the season, overtime. But
it should have worked. Yeah.
They never got what I would say a consistent run or partnership.
But this comes back to the whole team itself.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Constantly a revolving door policy, really.
It's difficult.
And now even bigger changes.
In terms of today, deadline day, we mentioned the two who might go out, Ravel and Makeda. Anything else we should expect? There was talk of a winger potentially this morning. I as usual received a few conflicting messages, but I was told there was a chance of a winger who's currently abroad, pacey winger. But I understand then later when the Lawrence deal was done that was kind of abandoned, that idea, and they see Lawrence as. That's why I say that's what leads me to think I think Lawrence is going to be utilised out wide.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah. As well, whether he will be, he's seen as being able to do that and potentially can do that for.
Because Immers is, I was looking at his record. He's played centre forward, I think once, maybe twice, but he's largely an attacking midfielder.
Yeah, like a central midfielder. Yeah.
So, are they going to change their system? Do we know? Is Immers going to play as a 10 or as a 8?
Well, they see. He's been playing as like a 10, hasn't he, with Pilkington? So I mean.
So Pilkington's not the 10 then, because Pilkington was the 10 the week before.
I think they've interchanged.
They sort of swap around, don't they? Really, who's the most advanced?
I didn't see the game this morning, but there was reports. I mean, Chris Wyland, who was there, said Pilkington. You could tell this week that he's not a full-time striker, if you know what I mean.
He's not a striker.
It was apparent.
And that we know that was. Thanks for that.
First with the news, sir. Always first with the news.
Well, no, just after the goal scoring of previous
Yeah,
weeks,
yeah.
where everyone was thinking,
Yeah,
oh,
he's
this
not
guy's
number
great.
9 though.
Well, it was
You know,
interesting because
he's a
Slade
difference.
sort of raised those doubts himself, didn't he? He said,
we
well,
know
it's
that.
working
He's
for
a winger.
now, but
He's
we
a
don't
winger.
know.
He's a winger who can play. I say, with his injury record and what have you, move him inside in number 10 because he's not got the pace to get outside people. He's got the trickery, and he's got great feet and great technical ball control. So, to me, it makes perfect sense. Just move him inside into the 10 role, and he'll dig a bit and work a bit as well. So he can play at the top of a diamond.
Okay.
But he's not a number 9. I think.
No.
Yeah, we all knew that. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting now with MK Dons on Saturday with these new guys in.
Well, it is going to be, because what you're effectively saying, particularly with Ravel and Makeda going, if I said to you who's actually a striker at Cardiff City,
Shout, John.
Pilkington no, Lex Immers no, Tom Lawrence.
Sardi back on the bench, potentially. Scored for the under-21s. I mean, he's a massively unknown.
Kenneth Sahor, who is a striker, but
one for the
again,
future.
conflicting info as to whether he's for now or for another time.
The future.
Could be, yeah. I mean,
maybe they're going to go with a false number 9.
maybe they're
Intriguing team selection.
Maybe
Yeah,
they're
that's what I
gonna
mean,
go
it's
that Barcelona
interesting.
way. Maybe Russell Slade has got the tactical awareness. Maybe.
False what's it?
False nines
whatever
and
it
all
is.
that. Yeah. Maybe.
You heard about it somewhere, yeah. Okay.
That's
Read
worked.
about it.
Indeed. So no, in terms of any shock things, I remember last January, a Norwich bid for Craig Noon came out of the blue, and he almost joined. Actually, it was very late.
Close, yeah.
There's always a chance, I suppose. That's something
Tomorrow.
like that. They could get an offer for a player.
Well, from what I know, there have been no. Because remember early in the window there was all that stuff about Everton and David Marshall, and but apparently there's been no approaches, no offers, and they're confident. Cardiff are confident that nobody, after Mason's gone, no other first teamers in or around the first team will be let go today. What was? Cue the bids and probably go. I got a feeling. Go. Marshall's gone to Everton. I'll give it up then. I'm retired. But I can only go on what information I'm sort of sneakily being leaked out to me, and it's that they're not expecting to lose anyone. Who are we looking at? Marshall and Noon, really. They're expecting them to stay.
I suppose it could be anyone. Technically. Do you think, despite what Cardiff say, other clubs would have it in their heads that Cardiff, with the embargo, with the financial fair play, with what happened with Mason, they are a club who, if you give them an offer, a half-decent offer for a player, no matter if he is a first team, that they would
John,
consider.
I think they would, but I also think, regardless whether you're under an embargo and what have you, they need to clear players out. The squad is still just...
Well, I think they're trying to do... I'm talking about first teamers, I suppose.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, think of the amount of players. If we went through how many players they've got at the club currently and out on loan, I bet you it's still... I'd be surprised if it's not 35 plus.
On the books, yeah.
And that is still... It's just way too many. That's not including your 21.
Well, they've surely got a 24-man squad now, registered, right? Haven't they? Because that's what they could have under the embargo.
24 established
Yeah.
players.
Yeah.
There's several players out on loan, like you say.
Yeah, it still needs to be a lot of work done to bring it down. That's for certain.
Yeah, indeed.
That's for certain.
In terms of action on the pitch, then we mentioned 7 points out of 9. Improved performance. I think the first half was awful this weekend, but the second half, again, people telling
Paul
me...
Merson was giving it some on TV.
People telling me some of the best football Cardiff have played in that second half. They look really good. Whittingham, who seems to be the Whittingham of old. It
was the same Whit. You drop him, and fair play to him, he comes back stronger. And I said at the start of the season, I still think he can be utilised as either in the number 10 role or in the number 6 role, especially if you were going to play 4 with 2 holding.
Yeah.
And you need someone to dig, like Gunnarsson, and someone to spray, like Whittingham. And I just think it is about work on a training ground. I still think he's got a lot to offer, an awful lot to offer. But if you say to me, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, well, no. And, take into consideration, he's been around a long time, you know what I mean? Wear and tear catches up with you and what have you. This is where, as a club or a management structure, you start to negotiate different ways of utilising your best players or your talents in your squad. So just to say, right, bang centre midfield or bang left-hand side, you know, he's got too much for that, really, for me. He can put a ball on a sixpence, so, you know, Cardiff need those type of players. And, you know, it might not be, you might not play him in a ding-dong sort of game against, you know, against Wolves the other day where you know it's going to be frantic. Both teams are heading for the playoffs. But, you know, a game, someone like a surprise, like Middlesbrough expected to come and walk all over you. You drop him in there, and you end up saying, right, we're going to play a game where we're going to go long early, but you're not going long for the sake of going long. You're going long because you've got a player now in the pocket who you know, he's going to drop that onto a sixpence for you. You know, it is a way of playing, which some people might say, oh, it's long ball, but it's direct, more direct then. You know, less passes from the back, less passes in midfield. You know, the wingers know, you know, you can just break forward. Midfield runner, break forward. You know, so for me, he can be utilised and should be.
Well, yeah, man of the match on the weekend. Sammy Amiobi was another who had decent
good,
reports.
great for the goal.
Assists. He's obviously got
him and Fabio.
1-2, 1-2, 1-2, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, what can you say about Amiobi?
You're not sure, are you?
Well, I don't think anybody's completely sure. I mean, one swallow does not a summer make. I mean, he's maketh. Pardon me. But so I mean, you look at the loan spell overall. I remember when
most people say it's been disappointing.
Yes, well, I mean, when they captured him in the summer, you know, they beat off, you know, everyone else.
Would you agree though? It's been. I'm not making excuses for him at all. What I'm saying is, for where everybody thought, right, he's going to go in and start. He's a Premier League, quite a big name in the Premier League. Yeah. Personally, for him not to for so long and then become this impact player in a championship club, for him it must have been like, what? Do you know what I mean?
Can't get his head around. Yeah. No, I mean, that impact player thing, on occasion it's worked, and he's changed. I mean, particularly early in the season, he was changing games, wasn't he? The Wolves game at home, and you know, got his. I think it's still his only goal, is it? Or maybe he got another one since. But yeah, he was having that impact. But from what was expected of him, you would have to say it has been pretty underwhelming. You know, so but this way, he's looking a bit too comfortable in a almost mid-table-ish championship side. Whereas
he's not turning it around.
Exactly. Whereas Blakey says the expectation was he's going to step down and he's going to be like, wow, Amiobi does it again, kind of thing. Yeah. Well, he hasn't quite lived up to the billing. That much is for certain.
But what I'm saying is, when he was firing, they didn't carry that on to the 90 minutes. All this nonsense about he's not fit enough. Well, make him fitter. You know, there's no one else that can make him fitter. You know, get him out.
There's all this asthma thing as well that's come up, hasn't it, though? All this thing about him having asthma. When you think back to the beginning of the season, some of the weird things, think of Noon. Remember, he couldn't get near the side.
Yeah, remember he went on that run where he scored a couple of worlds.
Really early. Yeah, we were saying we got him in.
And then he died of death.
I know.
Didn't he? You know,
it's been a weird season like that for people being in and out. And look, what's the word of the season so far? Inconsistency. And that's run through the whole thing. In form, results, individual form of players, selections by the managers. It's affected every part of the club, and that's why they're where they are right now, I think.
And like I would say, it starts at the top. There's been a lot of inconsistency at the top. You have to say that. You know, to find yourself where you are now.
There's a lot. It's true, isn't it? There's a lot of doubt.
There is. How nobody knows. I mean, for me, the fact that your fan base is dropping tells you that there's a problem at the top, and it's, you know, it might be consistency in your decision making. It might be consistency in the relationship with you and your fans. What information you're giving them, where you see yourself, where you're going, what the plan is. Whatever it is, it's inconsistent. And I always say it starts at the top, and it's no surprise that it ends up out on the green field.
Anyone got any concerns about the defence? In terms of the transfer window, all we've been talking about is, you know, they need attackers, midfielders and that, but they're actually conceding a hell of a lot of goals at the minute, Cardiff. They've scored.
Again, the inconsistency of that.
You use that word again.
Consistently using the word inconsistent, I think you'll find. No, I mean, remember the long, it seems like an age, it got the whole, the season seems to be long. Honestly, seems like a couple of years ago, I remember. Like Ipswich away, I remember. But, they win about 6 games without conceding, didn't they? Remember? And they couldn't score at the other end then. Yeah. Then suddenly they were like getting goals and they were like throwing away 2-0.
But that's been
part of it.
It's funny, it's been the story of, I hate to say it, Russell's tenure, hasn't it? Inconsistency. When he first came in, remember? Couldn't win away, could only win at home.
Well,
that changed.
Hey, he's back. Yeah, no, he's back on that now.
Yeah, well,
he's winning away. He can't win at home against Rotherham. I tell you what, it'd be interesting to see MK Dons at home.
That is going to be a big shout because they play good football as well. Yeah, but they're not right now. You just run all over them. All players, it'd be like right, just go out and run over them.
Well, it's identified as 3 points for a side with Cardiff's ambitions at home.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they get on there. But it is. I mean, the whole season's just been so weird and so up and down.
The word you can say.
It's been very inconsistent.
Yeah, okay.
I think you'll find, my friend. Apart from the use of that word. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see on Saturday now if they, Saturday's a big game for them. In that, where are they back now on? Are they 5 away? Where are they from?
I think.
Are they
4 away off the playoff.
I mean,
they've got a great opportunity, mate. Really,
that's the kind of thing I should know.
They could go on like
3 points off.
3 points off the playoffs.
They could go on if they win.
Well, they got Charlton coming up.
If they win 3 out of 3, I would say they probably end up in 6th spot.
Yeah, well they've got MK Dons very winnable and Charlton very very winnable next 2 games.
Yeah.
Then they have Brighton.
Well, I mean, home to
they always play
Brighton,
better against the bigger teams. That's the inconsistency. Then they go and draw or lose against Rotherham.
There seems to be a bit of a buoyancy at the minute. Team playing well.
Well, you need it. Not buoyancy in here. There's never a buoyancy in here.
I don't know. Just sensing from some of the comments from some of the.
What are they saying? Come on, don't keep us in the dark. What are these?
Give Slade credit for getting the players working for him, all up against the criticism he's had to endure from the likes of Blakey et al. From the start of the season.
Yeah, Blake. I can't stand this criticism of Slade. You're indulging him.
I never criticised him.
Constructive criticism.
Exactly.
I think he said constructive criticism. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think
is that the only comment?
No, I'm just reading through.
Make sure there's no swear words.
You have to read them out loud.
No, he's making sure there's no bad.
Oh, is there? There's no bad blood. Yeah, there's a family show.
Apparently Manuel Pellegrini is leaving at the.
Surprise.
I wonder who's taking over there.
Russell
Slade. You're doing well.
Do you still think? I mean, this was your. So do you still think Russell Slade will leave at the end of the season?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I don't think he'll get a new contract. So, and whether he wants or not, I don't know. But I expect him to leave and to bring someone else in the summer.
Okay. I'm excited by the signing of Lawrence. Zohore is obviously an unknown quantity for our level. We still need an experienced striker who's done it at championship level. Fraser Campbell would be perfect.
I know a lot of people say
the annual, the regular Fraser
was kind
Campbell.
Linked, but again, we were told by Cardiff. I think that's not.
I was told, there's nothing in it. So, but that is what they're lacking, isn't it? Right now is an experienced striker. Most of them are out on loan. So, but I mean, they're missing. It's all very makeshift. It's all a bit weird. Like you said, Lex Ibbers is really a midfielder. Pilkins is a wide man. You got Tom Lawrence. Is he going to play at 10? It's all a bit. The only thing it's inconsistent. The only thing you can say about it, is at the moment it looks like it's working. If you look at results, so let's not knock it too much. Perhaps they'll somehow amble. What happens sometimes? You stumble upon
a secret formula.
Yeah. Like O'Keefe or something. Sorry to bring him up again. He's the O'Keefe show. But I mean, he's sitting there kicking his heels. Sometimes can't get on the bench. Next minute, and he's putting. Well, okay, hang on. This guy works. He links up with, he works with Rowles. They like, you do. I tell you, like we said before, master of that was Dave Jones, wasn't he? He'd suddenly somehow he his hand would be forced. He'd be like, oh wow, hang on, that works. maybe Russell Slade's having like a Dave Jones moment in that he said, oh my goodness.
Picking up Dave, your mate Dave.
I've got no problem with Dave.
Best buds, no?
I got no problem. I haven't seen him for 5 years. I'm fine.
Did you see they exchanged those lovely love letters? Emails.
Me and him like to have a long-term relationship, as in never seeing each other. But no, but I'm not bigging him up and saying sometimes it was almost fortuitous. Perhaps Russell Slade, transfer embargo looks like a nightmare. No Tony Watt, suddenly Lex Immers comes in instead, or Tom, and he fires, I don't know. It's like that in football, isn't it?
I think the difference with Dave was he knew, his strength was knowing that as long as I got enough experience in there, they will get it to work on the pitch. Yeah.
Well, you know a lot more about it.
And that's what he was good at. That's what he was good at. He wasn't great at like man management or anything like that, but he was good at basically putting experience with youth and go on. And he let players, lead it if you like. But then, sometimes you would even as a player, a more experienced player, you do look to the staff for the overall leadership, and sometimes that was where it fell down a bit. But generally, he there or thereabouts, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think we were on about defence, weren't we? I think the defence looks. I mean, you say it's leaking some goals now, but on the whole, you'd have to say there's been success stories there. I mean, Matthew Connolly and Peltier and Malone, who you're not exactly going to say, wow, look at these guys, but they've been reasonably solid. You've got Fabio.
But that's the whole idea of a team.
Seems to cover, yeah.
It's not an individual. It's it's what works for me.
I know Malone had some stick from our correspondent on the weekend.
Oh, did he?
In terms of his positional sense and whatnot.
It's just here we go. I mean, we're in February. And we're still going, what's the best team? Who should we play? Who should we play? This is something, if we were talking about in October, you'd say, all right, we've got plenty of time. In February, it's like, we'll be sitting here like in May going, what was the best team we could have played?
On a serious note, then, assuming there's not going to be any more arrivals or big name departures today, what is Cardiff City's best 11 to play the next game?
I couldn't call that one.
Marshall in goal, you can agree on that.
Marshall, definitely. I don't know.
Connolly.
Manga Connolly.
Peltier, Fabio.
I don't know.
Or do you go really controversial? Fabio at right back, Malone at left, because he likes to, that's quite a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got a
Nuninho, surely.
Noon if fit. Yeah.
The godlike genius of Stuart O'Keefe, anchoring midfield.
Oh, would you have DeCashry or Gunnarsson for that?
I've forgotten what DeCashry's like. Is he any good? I can't remember what he was like now at this point in time. Gunnarsson, I mean, he's been another one who's had to force his way through and has established himself. The big question is Whittingham. If you're going to play Lawrence out wide, the natural place is to play in for Whittingham. Maybe I got that wrong. Maybe they're going to play at number 10. Then where does that leave?
So many questions, Tug. Stop it.
So few answers.
I was hoping you'd pick a team.
Oh, was that okay?
not lay out the many options.
Hey, I'm not paid enough to go picking the Cardiff team. I don't know, man.
Well, pick a strike partnership then. We were talking about.
The easy bit then. Just the easy bit. I haven't seen enough of Immers, and I'm not massive. I haven't seen enough. I'm not massive on him. I've got to say, I'm not massive on him. I'm not like going, wow.
Partnership.
Well, he was playing up there on the weekend.
Yeah, but I think Russell Slade is trying to say at this moment in time, it's working, but we know, right, he's talking about a number 9 and, possibly playing with 2 strikers because we play 4-4-2. So there's a strike partnership.
4-4-1-1, no.
Okay.
My friend.
4-4-1-1.
It's been tweaked.
Okay.
Tweaked.
Okay, so we could play Immers in the number 10 role. So who would you have?
Lawrence. Mate. I suppose we keep Whittingham out there. Lawrence in there with...
No. You haven't seen Lawrence yet.
I don't know, but I'm hearing all these great things. I don't know.
I think what John's saying is what you've seen so far, and what we've got at our disposal right now. So
from what I've seen, I have to keep Pilkington up there because I thought he's done all right so far.
And you put a 9 ahead of him.
Yeah, well...
Who would that 9 be?
I'm intrigued to see Sardi Although he looks a bit unfit, but he obviously would look unfit. But he could be something. Could do something. Stumble into the, have a little run near the end of the season.
I thought my predictions were wrong, and come the end of February, we've stumbled upon something, and we're 4 points clear in 6th place.
Are we?
That's going to have to be a
Are we
very
more
good
confident
run.
about reaching the playoffs now than we were maybe on January the 1st?
Nah.
Much the same, yeah?
Nah, I
'Cause
mean,
there's definitely a feel-good factor.
it's a better feeling. It's a better feeling.
You can't
We
win
don't know how
2
long
and
this
draw
feeling's
1.
going to last. Number one, you just need to be consistent, and we haven't got. I think we can establish that we can't pick a consistent team right now. So right now it's kind of just up in the air. And
They haven't got a number
the cards
9.
will fall where they will
fit for
fall. Do you know
purpose.
what I mean? It's a really difficult call, John. But my thing is, I always say, as a fan, what you say is, because we've got him and him now, we that gives us give options and we can go. Yeah, but Middlesbrough will strengthen. Hull will try and strengthen. Derby will try and strengthen. You're not alone. It's not like your turn this year. It's not like the NFL draft. You get everyone else around you is also trying to strengthen. So, and it might not be, people go, oh, well, they didn't sign anybody. Well, they might have someone who've come back off injury, or they might have a 21 player all of a sudden has hit some sort of wicked streak form and you bring him in. I mean, you just don't know. So, I always say when we're strengthening, so all the people you're going up against. So that's why I think, we can, but we've got to take advantage of times like, Charlton and MK Dons, 6 points, and then go and beat Brighton with that. Take that confidence.
Middlesbrough after the Brighton.
You got to run after Charlton. You got to run, mate. You got 3 or 4 games then of difficult games. So, if you can pick up the points against the teams who you normally struggle, which for some weird reason seems to be the lower teams, and you can get maximum points out of those games, and then go against your Middlesbroughs and what have you, and pick up wins, draws, then that puts you in a great position, and it gives you some sort of consistency.
That's why MK Dons is such a big one, I think, in a way.
Yeah, it is a big
It's the
game.
kind of game, as a la Rotherham previously at home.
They didn't look very good yesterday, MK Dons, did they?
I thought Chelsea looked quite good.
Chelsea looked
I
all
thought they looked all right.
Yeah, Chelsea
I'd
looked
have
decent.
I'd have that Oscar. Looks all right.
Do you see
Number
Eddie
10
Newton on the
role.
bench? Now
No.
there's a shout for a manager for Cardiff City.
Oh, right, you're trying to get rid of Slade now, eh?
No, I'm saying if you wanted someone with experience and knowledge and at the highest level,
Has
and
he been
access to players.
has he been a number 1 anywhere?
But you advocated Craig Bellamy last week.
No. I'm not asking in the sense of deriding him. I was wondering if in the past he had been. No. Anyway, no. All right.
No.
And I sort of
But
missed
why
it
would
or
that be a
something.
question? If you're willing to go with Craig Bellamy.
It's going to be interesting. What would be great is if we
Just
get
ask
to...
him. Hey, don't get all
get to a
don't get
couple of
angry.
I'm not angry.
Blakey.
I'm not angry.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Just to hang in there.
like
You like me when I'm angry.
You've quite finished now.
We're bickering now. Started bickering like an old married couple.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly. Final 2 games for Cardiff City are Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham, who are currently in 6th and 7th.
Man, tricky.
It'd be good to just be in the mix and for everyone to...
It'd be fantastic. It'd be fantastic to go to. You go to Birmingham for a draw,
Need a
and they come here. I presume for the thing. They come here and a draw sees you in
Saturday,
6.
May the 7th,
I'd take that now. Have that Saturday. Is that right? We need a draw against Birmingham at home. Great, fine. They'll have done well to be brilliantly to be in that position. I think.
What do we think then for this weekend?
It's really hard to judge. That's why it's such a weird game. I mean, as you say,
They're the type of team, right? They're the type of team who could play off the park. But in current form and confidence, you should be looking to just, like I say, run all over them, almost bully them, really. So the way Cardiff are and the confidence they should have taken from the last couple of games, I say Cardiff could, from a league point of view, they got to win it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think they do have to win it.
Because I think it gives them so much increased confidence as well.
It'd be like a point away then, or 2 points away.
If they don't, then, you know, it wouldn't be surprising, would it? Because you just say, okay, that's kind of the story of our season so far. We've gone up there and drawn, or we've gone up there and lost after beating them, and then we lose to them, and you know, that's been the story of our season so far. So, you know, has anything happened over the last 3 or 4 months to give you, you know,
we didn't have Kenneth Zohore then.
the feeling that things are changing or going to change? You know, it's been very inconsistent. I would say it'll be a difficult game. Let's hope that they can win it, though.
Yeah.
Let's hope they can win it. But it will be difficult. The worst thing is, you know, them getting pumped by Chelsea, and I forget who they got. They got Big Sal a week or two before that in the league, 4 or 5, well now 5 or 6. I can't remember, but they'd been on a hefty shellacking a couple of times.
They beat Cardiff on Boxing Day. I remember it well. Nice trip out. All those roundabouts. Have you ever been to Milton Keynes?
One of my best mates lives in Milton Keynes.
Nice stadium, but
they got pumped 5-0 at home to Burnley a few weeks ago.
That was it, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. So it's you know, you think to yourself,
they
right?
Also they lost to Bolton. Not many teams do that.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
And then they got thumped by Chelsea. surely
it's a given. It's a given.
Exactly.
All we can do is turn up.
Well, let's
get out there.
Let's just wait and see.
Get a few players out.
If I put a score on it then before we finish, what do you think?
I'm going to go for 2-1 Cardiff because I'm being confident now.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? It's all right.
It's not confident enough.
Oh, you go on. You're okay. Come on, let's see your confidence. See how confident you are, man. Put your money where your mouth is,
okay,
baby.
I'm going to go 4-1 Cardiff.
What?
4-1. Yeah.
Well, Cardiff never beat anyone 4-1, do they? If it's 4-1 now, please erase this tape.
I think Cardiff. Yeah, I think if they can get in the lead, I think they'll.
Tom Lawrence hat.
You know, if they get 2 goals ahead, they'll fold. They will. Psychologically, you know.
Okay.
So that never seems to happen with Cardiff, though, psychologically seeing anyone off, does it?
They will.
Oh, good. Well, both gone for wins anyway.
Yeah, well,
that would be good.
Cross those fingers and hope for the best.
Cross those fingers and toes, my friend.
Indeed. Thank you, chaps. Thanks for all your comments and your input. All the transfer deadline day news coming from Steve Tucker throughout the day. He'll be working right up until 11 p.m.
Sorry, pubs are open. Just make your own transfer news happen.
If there is anything, we'll have it.
It'd be first with us
later on today.
I'm confident
and of course, we'll be live on the weekend for that MK Dons match. See you next time.